Welcome to the News9 Plus show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. It's one of the year's biggest events. Prime Minister Modi will formally inaugurate the Ram Temple on the 22nd of January. Now, the Confederation of All India Traders says the Ram Temple could generate nationwide business worth rupees 50 crore. That's one of the segments that we're going to be talking about today. And joining me to discuss this are Dr Ankit Shah, author and geopolitical analyst, and Mr B.C. Bhartia, National President of the Confederation of All India Traders. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus show. Dr. Shah, break down for us the significance of the inauguration of the Ram Temple on the 22nd of Jan.
Well, that this is not just a Pran Pratishtha of Ram Lalla. This is actually a Pran Pratishtha of Bharat. And when I say this word, there's a lot of hazy picture about how for 1800 years this geography has been giving more than 50% to the world GDP, 27% on an average to the world GDP, along with China 50%. And the question comes, if you were giving that much contribution, economic contribution to the world, what exactly was the institution you had? Because this criticism comes that the West gave you all kinds of institutions. So the institution which we had was the Mandir. So it is a Mandir ecosystem's revival, which is important not just for Bharat, but for the whole world, because the entire life cycle economics of the planet was running through the Mandir ecosystem. It is only the Mandir towns which survive till eternity. Something can happen to California, something can happen to Chicago, something can happen to New York, but nothing can happen to Kashi. Nothing would happen to Ayodhya. Nothing would happen to Tirupati. These Mandir towns survive till eternity in terms of economics. Now, why that is so? Because the entire economics is based on what we call as the life cycle principle of Dharma. What does that say? So there's a difference between the economics of Bharat and the economics of the rest of the world. The rest of the world is saying that you are the body and soul is just a vehicle, which means you have only one life, which is why the rest of the world follows the economics focusing on the material factor of production. What ancient Bharat says, you are the soul, body is just a vehicle, which means there are life cycles. Now, if you have life cycles, your economics is going to be focused on the man factor of production, not the material factor of production. So it is because of this Mandir ecosystem, which were not just the banking, it was related to agriculture. It was related to the festivals which were linked to the Mandir activities and the Tithis month-wise, which played the role of the cash flow in the entire system without having any central bank, like the modern central bank. So right from the processions of the monarchs, be it a family festivity, a royal birth, the procession of a new king, each and every family event was revolving around the Mandir ecosystem. Right. This is how the economics played. Absolutely. On an autopilot mode.
That's really interesting, and this is something that we tend to forget, how temples in ancient India and medieval India were actually what the Reserve Bank of India is today. It was like the center of economic activity of kingdoms and empires. Mr. Bhartia, what kind of business do you see the Ram Temple bringing in for the Confederation of All India Traders and indeed the Indian economy in the next couple of months?
You see, Sandeep, if we go by economics of our country, religious programs have always been the focus of economic activity at lower level.
Right.
We have melas and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Now everybody is talking only in respect of Pran Pratishtha at Ayodhya Dham.
Right.
We are not looking at Ayodhya Dham. We are going by the intentions of our Honorable Prime Minister. The whole country, the whole population is going to celebrate this.
Right.
Okay. That's why we have come out with this 50,000 crore business. People may be looking only at Ayodhya Dham. That is only the center of attraction. But in name of Ayodhya Dham, the appeal of our Honorable Prime Minister that everybody in all temples, this celebration should take place.
Right.
Can you imagine the amount of business that will be generated even in smallest of the village, in remotest of the tribal area, where things will be bought and sold,
Right.
and it will be sold by whom? By local people,
Right.
by traditional businessmen, not by corporates, not by in malls.
Right.
So money will be coming at the lowest level,
Right.
and then the chain will go up.
Right.
And this chain will further generate money.
Right.
So we are looking at a very big event economically. Religiously, okay, but
Right.
economically, we are seeing a very big event which is moving towards Atmanirbhar Bharat, local going global. All these
So,
are pinned in.
Mr. Bhartia, you
Yes.
know, the figure, how did you come up with a figure of 50,000 crore across the country? I mean, is there a particular time period in which this is going to be spent? Is it a ballpark figure, or have you done some kind of research speaking to your confederation and the traders?
You see, definitely it is an estimate. But our research team, how many houses, we say at least 80 crore of population will be celebrated.
Right. Dr. Shah, do you see the Ram temple actually becoming the most valuable religious property in the years to come, in terms of, you know, the way it's been set up as well, the kind of infrastructure that's being built around it, the airports, the railway stations, the highways? What is it going to look like in the next 5 or 6 years? Is it going to become like what temples were in, you know, in, as you mentioned, in ancient India, literally, the center of economic activity?
Exactly. So you'll be surprised to know. I mean, the shift of the civilization from the statement that people used to say, Uttar Pradesh jana mat, koi gunda aapko loot lega. From that, the shift has come to, मैं वहां जा रहा हूं, सब कुछ लुटा के आऊंगा. That is the civilizational shift which is coming.
Yeah.
So I think 50,000 crore is a very small amount. I mean, our panelists being very modest about it. The celebration economic size is going to be very big.
Right.
The first corridor which I see is going to be Mithila Ayodhya Lanka corridor, which will be built.
Right.
With Ayodhya as the central node of Mandir ecosystem across from Saudi Arabia on one side to Laos, Cambodia on the other side.
Right.
You shouldn't be surprised in this decade if you find in the entire Southeast Asia and the Middle East coming up with the Mandir ecosystem.
Right.
Because everyone has now an economic realization, geopolitically speaking, that Mandir ecosystem is the only permanent cash flow method
Right.
without sudden interventions coming from the banking systems to bring the economies out of crisis.
Right.
So I do believe that this entire tourism which goes around the Mandir pilgrimage is going to have massive focus. Not just that, when you see the Southeast Asian countries, I mean, right, starting from Sri Lanka to Thailand to Vietnam, all these countries saying visa-free travel for Indians.
Right.
So all of them, when the tourists go there, geopolitically speaking, there will be a demand for Mandir ecosystem across this greater Indian subcontinent, or what we call as the Bhartia Upmahadweep.
Right,
So
indeed.
don't be surprised if the multiple economies get a stake in the Mandir ecosystem.
Absolutely. As it goes on currency notes, in God we trust. Deepak, you had a question on this. Kumbh Mela, another event on our festive calendar. More money to be spent, more money to be earned.
Yeah, and like again, drawing upon the Mandir ecosystem reference that was given a short while ago. So, if we recall the discussion, mandirs back in the day were not just religious institutions, they were socio-economical institutions. And we're hoping that the Ram Mandir will act in the same manner. But I would want to bring our guests' attention to the local economy. They've already mentioned about bridges, flyovers,
Yes.
and the like being made. Could they elaborate more on what's happening in the ground and how is the Ayodhya of today reacting to these changes?
Ankit, you want to take that query from Deepak about that 15,000 crore
Yeah, sure.
package?
So, what we saw the Prime Minister inaugurating numerous projects on that day, on 30th December, and we know how he's very particular about why he selects particular dates for events. The entire geography of Ayodhya is not just going to see an economic rejuvenation. Eventually, what we are looking at Ayodhya as is going to become a center for geopolitics. It is also going to become a center for geoeconomics. Now, when we say that, what do we mean? We mean to say that this is the only civilization which celebrates ethical profits as a community festival. So it's not a surprise that when you have in Diwali the celebration of Dhanteras,
Yes.
that you find that the entire socio-economic of family unit entrepreneurship model being empowered with this kind of business.
Right.
Now, on ground, what does that translate into? Every family or community which are working on this specific customized products which are consumed during these days of celebrations are going to be empowered not just with business, but there is a sense of social congregation and social benefits in terms of the psychological state of mind of people and the confidence that it brings along in terms of your succession, that you are owning this entire history of this nation as a piece of geography. So Uttar Pradesh as a whole, not just crossing $1 trillion of economy through this decade, but you will see that this entire chunk of land which is named as Ayodhya becoming a hub, as a tourist spot hub, even for the foreign tourists who are not just going to come to learn about what is the difference between religion and dharma, but in terms of spiritual economics, in terms of academic economics as well. Because mandirs were also Gurukul, the Gurukul campuses used to be in the mandir
Absolutely.
ecosystem.
Yeah, and
So
thank you very much.
eventually
I'm
should
afraid
be
we're totally out of
surprised.
time, Dr. Ankit. Very important points there. The fact that Ayodhya is once again going to become a center of geopolitics and geoeconomics, as you mentioned. And I'd like to thank you very much for your insights, Ankit and Mr. Bhartia. We'll be tracking the story very closely, of course, in the run-up to the
Thank you.
22nd of January. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
News 9 Plus. Download now.